What do you get when Mark Stewart gets elected? Let me give you 3 principles that I'm pushing for at every single level of government. I'm the General Assembly seeker, but I think it should be applied in the bureaucracy as well as the legislative branches here and at the congressional level as well. That's not the office I seek, but there's wisdom here. So, in 9 words, end government welfare, restore American culture, and enforce good laws. Let me get into all 3. Progressives at first recoil at the thought of, welfare being cut back. But let me tell you a progressive success in cutting back welfare. It was Bill Clinton who said we're at the end of unlimited welfare at the federal level. People who had been on benefits for 2 years were going to get cut off. And sure enough, people got jobs. We didn't suffer. They didn't starve on the streets. In fact, in the late 1990s, after Bill Clinton had this decree, we may have had our best sustained economy, maybe even ever. Now, I'm an inner city guy, a candidate for helping people in the cities who tend to be less privileged. And yet, the thought of cutting back on welfare, wouldn't that hurt us? No, it helps. It helps you more than anyone else. Because the limited welfare that you can get has big strings attached. I mean tight ropes, shackles, handcuffs, if you will. Because you're in the hands of government. You have to abide by their restrictions, and they make it hard to get off. If you're getting some money because of a disability or unemployment, then when you do get employed, they cut you off, making it less tempting to even get the job in the first place. Ending government welfare does not mean ending welfare. Private welfare is a beautiful thing, and I'm never against that. First, who be it for me to say why a fellow neighbor might want to spend his time, spend his money helping somebody out? For whatever reason, it is not my business. And I do tend to respect the neighbor's business enough to realize he's probably making a win-win. And almost certainly, helping out the person privately is helping that person to gratitude. Something that's a generally good thing in society. That when you've gotten a hand up from an individual who you know sacrificed to do this, didn't have to help you, you're almost certainly grateful. That's not true when the hand up comes from government, especially if you've come to expect it from government. You're entitled to it from government. And then there's no gratitude. It's just, this was mine in the first place. I'd rather this was not mine. I've been helped out by a fellow human, and I want to do the same to somebody or for somebody else. That's how we make a better world. Conservatives who say that ending welfare is going to help humanity are right. This is soulcraft, and it can't be done well by a blunt legislature. It can't be done well by even a relatively nimble bureaucratic task force. They can't treat individuals. It would be unfair, according to government practice. But individuals get the best treatment when a private do-gooder or a private organization evaluates what do they need and what do we have to help fix it. In the end, their goal is self-reliance by the recipient. Government's goal, not the case. There are many in government who do not want to create self-reliance. They'd rather have people rely on government over and over and over so that they who are still in government are in more control. We've had decades of government handouts without enough strings attached, and it leaves most people still poor. They have less ability to lift themselves up, and sometimes have less willingness to lift themselves up. These people have been crippled by government welfare. Let me talk culture. American culture is what has brought a lot of immigrants here for the last 80 years. And it's what's kept most of us from going abroad permanently. The flow is ridiculously skewed towards incoming and staying versus leaving. You don't see many people leaving for Korea. Very few people leaving for Ghana. Almost nobody leaving for Brazil. But you certainly have people coming our way from each of those countries. What is it? It's a creed that uniquely from America sprung. I think worldwide people have it, but there's no nation other than ours that espouses the creed. If you're Belgian, it's because of a bloodline. It might have been in other European countries because of the established kingship, the family blood, or maybe the warriors that took over territory. In America, you're an American because of a creed. And the beautiful thing is, as soon as you get here, you become an American. Not true if an American goes abroad. You don't become a Belgian. You don't become Japanese. Here, when a Belgian or Japanese establishes himself here, he is an American. This is a culture that is worth fighting for. And the leftists who want to take down this culture should go away. There are plenty of other places to practice your leftism. You don't have to go far even. Cuba will welcome you. Maybe you do have to go far to some of the countries run mostly by thugs, because that's what progressivism at the extreme becomes. If we are relying on government, then the strongest within the government now take control. No wonder socialist regimes become thuggish. I'll conclude with enforcing good laws. I say good because there are many laws that should not be enforced. They shouldn't have been passed in the first place, and I'm a candidate who would like to be removing laws. It would be a task force. It might be a task force of one, but I expect others in the legislature would like to join. Laws that unfairly restrict. Laws that were made kind of fashioned because of a small special interest group. You can find in certain statutes, that means laws, things that basically benefited one company. Laws that apply to corporations founded in Connecticut between April 1929 and May 1929, and there was just one. That is legislation run amok. And unfortunately, the force of law means violating the amok law can put you in prison. We need to get rid of them. Enforcing laws that are good means we're doing good. And it means without exceptions, without, oh, your circumstance differs, we're going to let you off the hook. If something violates a law, it shouldn't matter who is doing it. So there are two types of justice. And I understand that underprivileged people, often African American, are on the wrong side of the flimsy justice that's dished out at the hands of the majority. When you have fewer laws, when you reduce the laws to ones that are good, that rein in if possible, and certainly punish when broken, you have a more just society. I'm Mark Stewart. Thank you for listening. Share this with a friend. I'm at stewartforhartford.com.